Thank you for recognizing airlift. I'd forgotten also I'd done airlift. I mean, of course, I remember I did airlift, but airlift isn't featured. So when Jal released and I realized that people had forgotten who I was, and then came airlift. So I mean, I did feel कि, and as you're saying, I did feel like छोटा role है. And Raja said this to me also when he finally agreed to cast me, because Raja didn't want to cast me in the film. He thought I didn't look the part. He felt what he was feeling, and he made my brother Nikhil. Since you mentioned my brother Nikhil, let's talk about my brother Nikhil. So when he made my brother Nikhil in 2005, in fact, I remember my uncle, who at that time was a very sort of, I would have considered him to be a homophobic man. And when he saw my brother Nikhil, he called me in the morning, "मैं जा रहा हूँ picture देखने." And I got a little worried. Will he go and what will he say when he comes out of it?
Tell me, what is your frame of mind now that the show is out there? And of course, we are not going to elaborately talk about all the how the dots are getting connected or whatever that is, because it's a mystery which we shouldn't be giving away any spoiler. But now that the show is out and people have started reacting to first two episodes, especially now, how you look at everything, how you're taking everything in.
Well, it's always interesting to get reactions from people, especially when you put in so much hard work of a show and then you're sitting wondering what the audience thinks, how's the show being received, did I do a good job, what are the reactions that are coming, what the reviews people are saying. So this is always the exciting period of a show's release, and it lasts for a few weeks, especially when all the episodes are not together. So so I think it feels great. It feels I'm getting some positive responses. People are asking why am I not there in the show enough, but I think I knew that when I did the part, that this part is a smaller part in a show, in a bigger story. But there are many reasons why I wanted to do this part, and we can talk about that later. But I think for the little bit I've done, and even if it's a smaller part, I always feel one should give their hardest work to make that small part stand out.
Yes, for sure. I would like to mention this because you were talking about this whole thing of like people wanted to see you more, or they wanted you to have like the character length should have been like a much longer or everything. But it's so interesting that even in a huge film like Airlift, where you are just in few scenes, but even then at the end of the in the end of the story, I'm like, oh, there's this moment because of the character that you played, in which even I wanted, along with the entire audience, that usko bhi wo mil jaye jo wo dhoond raha hai, very silently. So there's this very interesting thing about the kind of part that you choose, even if it is small. Tell me, is this I mean, that's why probably I would like to know this from you, that how the impact of the character in a narrative matters to you, or how do you judge that even? Because at times होता है ना कि भाई क्योंकि 3 scenes है तो ऐसा तो नहीं हो जाएगा ना blink and miss type, but वो आप उस चीज को कैसे कर लेते हो, कि judge कैसे करते हो in the beginning of it, that even if it is like a 3 scenes project, I'll make sure that the projection of it is correct.
I think you have to look for scenes that are written. You have to look for scenes that are written, and then you are going to have fun doing it. Thank you for recognizing Airlift. I'd forgotten also I'd done Airlift. I mean, of course, I remember I did Airlift, but Airlift isn't features.
Audience, I should be, if I can recall it, that means you have done a great job, okay?
Yes, thank you for that. And Airlift is actually a film very close to my heart, because also Raja is the first film I did in my life was with Raja as a director many years back, a film he did called Bas Yun Hi. And then after all those years, I did Airlift with him, and Airlift also came in my life after I had been away from the industry for quite a few number of years, because I was shooting Jal, and I thought that I didn't want to do any other work till Jal release, and then Jal release and Jal didn't do that well, and then suddenly I realized that, oh my God, there's been
very good film again. I would like to mention that too. I mean, it was a good film. It had a vision. I don't know. Maybe it was, and it was visually very interesting for me. Jal.
I wish people now, because of the OTT platforms, people do watch Jal, because when it came in the theaters, I think lots of people missed an opportunity of watching. It was a great film, and I think Girish did a good job with the film. But anyway, when Jal released, and I realized that people had forgotten who I was, and then came Airlift. So I mean, I did feel and as you're saying, I did feel like chota role hai. And Raja said this to me also when he finally agreed to cast me, because Raja didn't want to cast me in the film. He thought I didn't look the part, and I had to chase Raja and tell him, "Yaar, I want to do this part. I've heard that it's a good part, and I want to do it." And he said, "Okay, it's a small part, but yes, it's got some important scenes," and that's essentially how you judge it as an actor. So even if you've seen Bob Biswas and I did Bubai in Bob Biswas, which is again just a 2 or 3 scene part, but the fun wasn't doing that obnoxious character, and I knew fun. And then to add to that, they also put in that song sequence, which was perfect, so you'd stand out even more with that. And so that's what you try and do. You try, even if the part is small, you try and really make it yours and make it fun and try and do something that people will remember. Harder said for Criminal Justice and Neeraj Ahuja's part, which I've played this now, because the part is really grim and sad. But a lot of I think the sadness of the show, because when you look at the show in totality, there are many emotions that are felt. There's guilt, there's anger, there's frustration. But I think the sadness aspect of the show is weighed on this character, on Neeraj's character, because he's the one who's had the biggest loss. It's his daughter that's been brutally murdered. So I think that's, as an actor, I saw that as the responsibility of holding the sadness for Criminal Justice season 3.
Yeah, I'm sure because that was this character was very different from everything that you have done so far. So I mean, for me as an audience, that is how I have interpreted that. I think this is why probably this actor said yes to this project, because this is a very different Purab, like so far whatever we have seen him in.
Yeah. There are lots of flavors that, I mean, which I would have not said yes to typically, because, like, for example, one of the things is the kind of position they are in as a family. Also, they are living out of this young girl's income. They are all sort of exploiting her in some way. That's one way to look at it, but they are happy and content in it. Then also the whole murder of the girl, and then the drinking, and what drinking can bring out, and what emotions, how it can make the sadness even worse when you're drowning your sorrows like that. So these are all things that can be looked upon as negative kind of characteristics that a character has.
Shades of sadness, kind of with this character encapsulating that, and I think that's the interesting part of it. Also, Purab, this is something I would like to talk about, and that is, of course, we have been for last 5 years. I think one thing that everyone is talking about, and that is the way we are celebrating content, right? There's this whole line between usual story, unusual story, usual looking actor, unusual looking actor. All those things has kind of now finally, and thank God, very interestingly, you are one of those actors, right? Like today people are very open to talk about homosexuality and other all those offbeat content, and you are one of those, Sanjay Suri, Onir is, I think, one of those filmmakers who used to make all those films, always like like telling those stories with the correct kind of representation on screen. Do you think those kind of stories are finding more space and windows now, and the celebration therefore should be amplified in terms of diverse content and correct representation of every community now than ever before?
Well, I think I think everything happens a particular time. Now, Onir felt what he was feeling, and he made My Brother Nikhil. Since you mentioned My Brother Nikhil, let's talk about My Brother Nikhil. So when he made My Brother Nikhil in 2005, being homosexual in India was illegal. So it was not recognized on many fronts. A gay person had a lot of hardships at that point of time. This is in 2005. We didn't imagine what it would be in 2022. I mean, the way a gay person can express themselves in India or all over the world now is completely different. So definitely being a part of a path-breaking project like that is a very proud thing. And I think it started off a series of debates and a series of other filmmakers going ahead and doing things with what they felt after seeing My Brother Nikhil. And I think My Brother Nikhil kind of created a small spark that now is a big flame. More importantly, what Onir did with My Brother Nikhil, he told it in a very, very nice way to people. The story of it was a beautiful story about a man.
Based story.
Yeah, being subjected to certain cruelties because he was HIV positive. That was the story of my brother Nikhil. Homosexuality was a part of that story. It was not really about homosexuality. In fact, I remember my uncle who at that time was a very sort of, I would have considered him to be a homophobic man. And when he saw My Brother Nikhil, he called me in the morning, "मैं जा रहा हूँ picture देखने." And I got a little worried, will he go and what will he say when he comes out of it? But he came out of the movie and he said, "Beta, I came out of the theater and I lit my, he smokes, my uncle, he lit my cigarette and I took a deep breath and I felt so heavy in my chest and I felt so like nice having watched your film. And I enjoyed every aspect of it." So I think Oni really helped open up the mindset of lots of people towards homosexuality also with My Brother Nikhil. And then with I Am. I think in I Am he got a little more sort of hard hitting, but with My Brother Nikhil he was a lot more gentle.
One of the points that I was trying to make here when I mentioned the time, or specifically this time, I also wanted to, hinting towards the fact that, earlier what used to happen that because of releasing a film was so expensive, that is why many times the producer would say, the subject is very interesting, but we will not be able to, sell the film, and that is why the bad timing, bad show timing that I faced or people like us faced. But the reason why I say
that happens even now to sell new items film. Yeah, even today. In fact, there was a film script that came to me as the writers gave it to me and I passed it on to a producer. He liked it and we went to take money for the film and we got responses saying that it's a difficult film to produce for now because films, there's too much to gamble on, so they have to play very safe. The film market is very different from the OTT market. OTT allows for different path-breaking, interesting, it allows for that. But films, I don't think can allow for that because you're still banking on the fact that someone has to come and buy that ticket. And how are you going to sell that? I mean, for that matter, I don't get that many offers for films as the main lead because producers don't even think that they can sell a ticket on my name. So I am banking on OTT platforms in today's time, to produce content because that's how it is. The business is very different.
In the beginning of the year, you were saying something very interesting, and the reason that was like you are talking about the reason behind you shifting to London is also has a lot to do with going closer to Hollywood, right? Something that you are saying because again, representation that we are talking about, and the representation of Asian character is very substantial now in international project. Tell me what kind of offer that you, or kind of audition, or like the process that you are going through these days for international project. Do you think life is changing on that front?
Yeah, definitely changing. In fact, I've not got any. I've done Sense8, of course, and then The Matrix, but in the kind of auditions only I'm giving here in the West. Initially, it used to be the doctors or the terrorist or some kind of very typical Asian kind of role, and very small bit kind of role suggested in a big Hollywood project. But right now, it's changing, especially with the OTT platforms. I mean, you're giving. I did an audition a couple of weeks ago for a show for the lead part. It is an Indian man, and it is a Hollywood-based show. So that's also happening. And even the director was an Indian origin director. So I think that's changing. You just now had Disney did what was it called, Captain Marvel, which is again Asian-based character. So I think that's the world has become such a small place because of OTT platforms. And there are audience all over the world. They're Indians, they're Chinese, they're Pakistani, they're Bangladeshi. I mean, I live in a very cosmopolitan city now, and you see so many of communities of people. I mean, in the city of London, there are more sort of people of other race than white people. So the audience is huge, and they are consuming content, and they want content. They also want to watch content from other countries. Today, if you see in India, you will go into rural towns and people have watched international shows, because of they have access through either Disney or Netflix, Amazon, all the
everyone.
So the world is changing. Initially, as to get auditions, they're saying do an American accent. Now I get auditions saying do your own accent.
Right.
So they want people are consuming content. They're understanding each other. They're doing dubs. People are watching all sorts of content. So it's a very interesting time, and I think it's a matter of time now. You will start seeing a lot of, because Indians, I mean, whatever said and done, we are a large population in the world. So
yes,
we are.
And we should. Our representation should be substantial and respectful in all the projects, all the international projects
Absolutely. I'm working towards that.
Yes.